So tell me how you got to know and meet and interview Lou Elizondo.
Because of sources here in Las Vegas, all UFO roads lead to Las Vegas at one point or another. I knew there was a guy in the position that Lou had. I didn't know what his name was. I didn't know what the name of the program was. I just knew there was a program, and I knew there was a guy like him that led it. In October of 2017, Lou Elizondo walked out onto a stage in Seattle with Tom DeLonge, Hal Puthoff, and a couple of other folks from To the Stars Academy, and he announced to the world that yes, he had been in charge of this program. There was a UFO study, and I think it was shocking to anyone who was watching it. It was especially shocking to his former colleagues at the Pentagon who had no idea that he was going to make this announcement.
Once he made that announcement, how did we get to the point where we were interviewing him?
2 days after he was on that stage in Seattle, Lou Elizondo came to Las Vegas, and I was at a dinner meeting with he and 3 other people, and I got to meet him in person and get to know him. I saw the videos that he was going to release a couple months later, and I knew he was onto some pretty big things. So I made a point to stay in contact with him. In December of 2017, the New York Times story explodes. Lou Elizondo's name is all over the world, and we made a point of, since the story was out, to get him on camera.
Is it a threat? And if it's a threat, is it Russian? Is it Chinese? And yet, these are all normal questions you would ask, whether you're dealing with terrorism or weapons of mass destruction or any issue du jour, right? National security issue du jour. And yet, here we are with something that
Doesn't fit.
doesn't fit. And yet, no, you think that from an intel perspective, that'd be exactly where you'd want to put it. And yet, that's the last place anybody wanted it to be, because it wasn't well defined, and that is something that, from a national security perspective, the government isn't built to respond to problems in which they're very poorly defined. You don't know what it is, you don't know how it works, and you damn sure can't do anything about it. So, it puts us kind of in a weird, catch-22. Yes, we need to look at it because we don't know how it works, but we don't have any real recommendations to the boss. So where does that leave us, right? I don't want to be the guy to go to the Secretary of Defense. Oh, by the way, the guy who's named Mad Dog of all Secretary of Defenses, and tell Mad Dog, we got a problem and we don't know how it works and we don't know what it is and there's nothing we can do about it right now. That's not a good conversation to get in with the Secretary of Defense, right? And yet that was my job. And when people above me didn't want to allow us to have that conversation with the boss, my personal experiences, here's a man who likes to operate with more information, not less, right? And you can't even tell him that there's a potential problem, even though we're spending taxpayer money to do it. Then I think there's even that, in fact, to me, is more of a threat than the threat itself. That's more of a national security issue, the fact that we can't tell the boss there's a problem, more than the problem itself. And so, that was really one of the fundamental reasons why I decided to leave when I did.
I'll come back to that. Let's talk about the ride for you. You knew this was going to create an uproar. Is it what you expected? What the reaction, the media reaction, the public reaction?
Oh my goodness. I'm not sure I knew what to expect at all. Frankly speaking, my intent was to leave government service and maybe out of ignorance on my part, fade off into the sunset. Maybe go work at one of the big supermarket chains or go drive a truck or something, and fade off into the sunset. I think, given the topic of what we're talking about, I think, given the fact that it is an emotional topic for many, many people, and rightfully so. I think people have invested a large amount of energy and time and patience and resources trying to get to the truth. And I think when the government finally came out and acknowledged, yes, we had a program, and by the way, yes, we still have a program as of 3 months ago. I think it's natural for people to react the way they did. And as you're gonna have the full spectrum of reactions, right? So on one side, you're gonna have some folks that are very, very excited that this information finally came out and that this information, the government's being truthful and disclosure, so to speak. And then you have the other side of the spectrum where, this type of acknowledgement in some cases could be a bit of a hard pill to swallow.